Good afternoon. I'm here with presenting to you an exclusive TNZ. Welcome to season 4, episode 3 of the Neutral Zone.
Two, right?
Episode 2, that's right. I thought we had done 3 because we've been talking about this episode. It feels like a third episode, actually. But thanks, Stomps, for always making sure that I'm on the ball. I'm excited today with my co-host Stomps. We got a big week ahead of us, and we are going to bring to you the best entertainment that you can ask for in the next 40 to 45 minutes. I'm excited to bring to you some very important topics. But before we do so, I just want to put a special shout out and thank you to our good friend in the ball hockey community, Stevie J. A couple of months ago, we ran out of our trial for Zoom, and Stevie J was kind enough to give us his credentials. So we're back in full effect, so we're able to deliver you the best entertainment. Now, we also know that many of you won't be able to catch this show live or shortly after the telecast. So if you can, make sure you tune in on your way to Iowa for the tournament this weekend for the National Deck Association 3-on-3 tournament, summer hockey in Quad Cities, right, Stubbs?
Davenport, Iowa, more specifically, but yes, the Quad Cities.
Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to cover some very important topics, and then we're going to welcome a special guest who's scheduled to be with us momentarily, and that's Nicola Levesque. So, Stomps, before I get started, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. So let's get rolling here, Stomps. Today, we're going to cover some very important things. First thing we're going to do, we'll welcome our special guest when he joins momentarily, but we'll do that on the fly. So that's Nicola Levesque. Then we're going to talk about some news in Canada that I want to share with you. It's a feel-good story, but I promised that I'd share this tremendous news with you all. Then we're going to go over some really minor current events, followed by an NHL update. Obviously, I'll bring to you the culinary corner. And Stomps, you're really going to be pleased with the culinary recommendation I make today. So I'm going to keep you in suspense. And then we'll do a quick injury update. But the bulk of the show is really going to be talking about the NDA tournament that's coming up this weekend. So real quick. So we're going to have Nicola Levesque join us momentarily. But let's get through some important topics here. First and foremost, I want to recognize a retired physician from Burlington, Ontario, Dr. Mahmoud Mazar. He is the friend of my father-in-law. He resides in Burlington, Ontario. And most recently, he's spending a lot of his time golfing, but he just got a hole-in-one. And he's from Burlington, Ontario. And I made a promise to my in-laws and family friends that I would just recognize him for that. So congratulations, Dr. Mazar, for your hole-in-one. Retired physician, studied in London, England, and had a great career and is now just enjoying golfing. Stomps, any comments there?
Well, a hole-in-one is certainly nothing that I've accomplished in my illustrious golf career. So congratulations to the good doctor. Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Stomps. And Dr. Mazar, let me know what you think. I'll send you the link. Okay, perfect. So here's a big thing that just recently came out. I don't know if many of the viewers saw this, but in tradition, we're going to talk a little bit about Elon Musk. You can see the tail of the tape here. It looks like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg are really going at it online with some wars. And it turns out that there's going to be a potential either boxing match or a steel cage match between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. These two tech billionaires are going on it since June. They're going at it since June. So there could be a physical fight coming up. And Musk and Zuckerberg have continued to fuel this. Late this morning, I did read online that Elon Musk may have to undergo surgery before the big match. Stomps, look at the tail of the tape. You got 51-year-old Musk versus 39-year-old Zuckerberg. Definitely Musk has the height, 6'2" versus Zuckerberg's 5'7" frame. And then 230 pounds. There's almost a 100-pound difference between the two. Who is your money on, Stomps?
I'm sure it'll be a work. So those of you who are deep pro wrestling fans know what a work is. Um, well, Zuckerberg has the youth. Musk the size. I'll go with Musk. He'll overpower him.
Great choice. I'm touched to hear that loyalty.
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
All right, guys. Well, stay tuned for this big matchup. I don't know what it's going to be televised on, but I'm sure it's going to cost a lot of money to watch. I'm definitely going to pay the money for it. All right, in NHL news, Erik Carlson has finally signed, well, not signed, but he was traded yesterday to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Kyle Dubas pulled it off and went over from the San Jose Sharks, but it turns out that Montreal Canadiens were involved in that. I guess they'll do anything they can to prevent the Leafs from getting him, because I believe that it was between Pittsburgh, Carolina, and the Leafs. Stomps, did you hear about this news?
I heard about the trade. I didn't hear about your conspiracy theory right there, but that would be something to talk to Nick about, because I'm sure you share that rivalry with him, given he's a Montrealer and you're a Torontoan.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see his loyalties, are if they're with Quebec Nordiques or Montreal Canadiens, because there's been some talk about the Nordiques returning to the NHL, which would be an incredible re-addition. What do you think?
I would support that. I always liked the Nordiques. They had the greatest jerseys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was tremendous.
All right, so listen, we can't have a complete show without the culinary corner. So, I typically recommend restaurants that are of, the Asian, Middle Eastern, sometimes occasionally I'll talk about Greek restaurants, Mexican restaurants. But here's one that serves Napoli pizza. It's the Grateful Bites, located in Winnetka, Illinois, very close to Scully's Glencoe Deck Hockey League. It's on 899 Green Bay Road. I would recommend you try this pizza out. It's delicious. We had it 2 Saturdays ago. I loved it. Stomps, have you heard of this place? And are you a fan of Napoli pizza?
Well, first of all, it's called Napolitan pizza.
Okay.
I haven't heard of it, haven't tried it. I love all kinds of pizza. Napolitan pizza is good. It's cooked in these, these ovens where the temperature is like 800 degrees in there, so it literally cooks in like 30 seconds.
That's great. Well, it certainly wasn't a long wait. We ordered our food, and then we went to the back of the restaurant. There's a little patio in the back. It was really nice. I recommend it. So again, Grateful Bites in Winnetka, Illinois. For those of you who are tuned in, you're tuned into season 4, episode 2 of the Neutral Zone, where we're going to exclusive episode that we brought to you today, where we're going to be talking to a special guest who will be joining us momentarily, and that's Nicola Levesque of the Quad City. All right, so perfect timing. Is Nick, are you in?
Here he comes.
He's connecting now. I think that Iowa internet is probably a little slower, but we'll have to talk about that. Hey, Nick.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly. Now we'd like to see your handsome face.
Awesome. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure this. I'm not a big Zoom guy. I'm trying to figure out my headphone here. Give me 1 sec.
No problem. Take your time, Nick. We already kicked off the show. We're live and recording now. We gave the fans a little suspense with you joining. We're really excited to have you. But while you're fixing your camera, let me just tell you, we talked a little bit about current events. We just kind of walked through a few things here. We won't bore you with all the details, but we went through some current events as we typically do. We talked about a hole-in-one. We talked about some big news in the current events world between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. And we talked about the trade with Erik Carlson to the Penguins. We always talk the Culinary Corner, which was the pizza place in Winnetka, right next to the Glencoe Deck Hockey League. And we're just about to get into injury updates, but before we do so, we just wanted to welcome you. There you are. All right.
What's up? There we go. I got my headphones figured out, ready to go.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show, Nick. Excited
Thanks
to
for
have
having
you.
me.
Good stuff. Now we're gonna conduct this interview with you momentarily. Nick, this is your first time on the show, so thank you for all your support over the last several years. We appreciate you've been a fan of ours, and we like that.
Oh, for sure. Anything related to hockey, deck hockey, ball hockey, however we want to call it here, we're always in. We're passionate. So people like you guys that do stuff like that, it's super entertaining. And I think Scully was the one who brought it up to me. He sent me your guys' videos and stuff, and that's how I started getting more involved and starting to watch your videos to kind of stay involved with the Chicago area more. So like I said, yeah, we like to stay involved with all the locations of deck hockey we can.
Well, exciting news, and we're looking forward to seeing you this weekend. We're going to talk about that. That's this big exclusive episode on season 3, season 4, episode 2 of the Neutral Zone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get to that. We just want to get to one last piece of updates in the Chicago area. So many of you know Danielle sustained a knee injury, I think a little bit over a month and a half ago. I wanted to share the good news with you all that her progress is on schedule and she should be returning to the rink shortly. So we look forward to her coming back and bringing back that excitement, charm, and level of competitiveness that we need in our Chicago ball hockey community. Stomps, any comments on that?
No, I haven't seen her in a long time, so it'll be good to have her back. I just also want to mention, I had a brief exchange with Sammy. He's recovering well, Sammy Espinoza. So, and I think he's been around the rink with the NBHL championships and whatnot. So, good to see him.
That's excellent. We're going to see Sam this weekend. I believe he's going to be in Iowa, taking on a coaching role for one of the Snipers teams. So we're excited about that. Okay, so back to the main topic here today. So we're going to bring it back to Nick. I'm going to hand it over to my esteemed co-host, Stomps, who's been a repeat attendee at what I like to say, one of the greatest tournaments of all time, but we're going to get into that. You judge for yourself. I think it's really good to have a clash of greatness. National Deck Hockey Association with Nick Levesque and the Neutral Zone. So greatness all over here. So Stomps, I'm going to hand it over to you, brother.
Thanks, Nav. Hey, Nick, thanks for jumping on. I know this is probably a crazy week, the lead up.
Yeah, so busy time, but I'm excited. Thanks for having me, guys. I think it was a long time coming. I think since the Chicago 5-on-5 tournament in January, I think we're trying to set something up. So I'm happy we finally got it done here.
Yeah, it's excellent. And I only have, a handful of questions. I just wanted to kind of start by giving you a chance to just kind of talk about your upbringing, in youth, up there. And you're from Montreal, or at least the Montreal suburbs, right?
Yeah, we're like an hour and a half from Montreal. We're between, right in the middle of Quebec City and Montreal City. So it's called Three Rivers. So the French part of Quebec there.
Well, I know Nav is especially interested to know if you're a Habs or a Nords guy. But talk about your growing up there. I mean, hockey hotbed, obviously, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I grew up into the sport. My older brother Patrick, obviously, as you guys know, plays on our decade team, and he played 5-on-5 with us as well. So he was kind of the first one in our family to get involved in the game. So by the time I got to the age where I could start getting involved and start skating, I was already like watching Patrick play. And then obviously my other brother, Matthew, who's the goalie on our decade team, and who was the goalie as well in 5-on-5 in Chicago. So he was into it as well. So growing up, we're 4 boys. I always let the older one always gets not talked about because he's the only one who doesn't play hockey, but I don't want to leave him out. So yeah, we grew up 4 boys. 2 of them played hockey obviously before me. So it's kind of easy. Like when you're always going to rinks with my mom and dad watching my older brothers play, it's like you start watching and you start getting involved and you're like, that's something I'd like to do. So next thing you know, I'm on skates and just following kind of their footsteps, you know.
So, I got to ask you this because this fascinates me. Like, what brought you to the Quad Cities? All three of you. I mean, no offense to the Quad Cities. I live in Illinois, so I love the Quad Cities. We love to come there but it's not, it's not a metropolitan
No, yeah,
international.
that's a good question. It's true. You know, so many other places you could pick from, and we chose Iowa, but it's mainly because of Pat. So Pat he played professional hockey for 10 years, and one of his last seasons, I think he was maybe 25, 26. He played 3 seasons here in the Quad Cities. We obviously would come visit during Christmas time, during March break, as much as we could. We'd come visit him, and it was probably his favorite spot. And it's kind of, he was at that age, I think, where he's figuring out that, I like it here. I could settle down here. And he met his wife, Samantha, here, so she's from the Quad Cities. So when he met her, I think that kind of pushed him to maybe say, hey, it's a nice area. There's potential here and stuff. And that's kind of at that period where we started being more involved with deck hockey. And it was kind of at the point of his career where he was trying to slowly translate to the after ice hockey career, right? So that's when kind of the idea of starting deck hockey here in the Quad Cities started with obviously him and his wife Sam, and then I came along there. I was 19 years old, so I would spend all my summers here playing deck all summer here with him and staying at his house. And I would go back home, play hockey in the ice season, in the winter time. So I would be traveling back and forth, but I totally fell in love with the game of ball hockey, deck hockey. And then later on, our other brother, Matt, he's a doctor, so he's a neurologist. He grew up playing hockey, like I said. He played up till university, so CIF, which would be like NCAA in the United States. And at 17, he had to stop hockey to go full time into med school, right? So next thing you know, 10 years later, something like that, he's done med school. He also met a girl here. Now he has a baby here. So he has a family here. He moved here, settled down here. And now he's our starting goalie for the Decade. So it's pretty cool how Pat kind of brought us all here. And now three of the four of us are all here playing hockey together on the same team. And now we're starting to travel more as much as we can. Like we went to Chicago for Fun 5, Pittsburgh. Now we have this one. So we're trying to travel more and do more events and stuff. It's just like I said, it's special to have the three of us here and all that because of deck hockey. So it's pretty cool.
Amazing story. Hey, Stomps, before we proceed to the next question, It's not often that we have 2 episodes in a row where we have Canadians. So I just wanted to let all the American fans know that the March break is what they call in Canada the spring break in the US. So when you said March break, I remembered that from, they don't say that.
Oh, yeah. Spring break, I get, you're right, yeah.
Right, but that's what the spring
March,
break.
I think we call it March.
We didn't get to sort of deep dive on that. So Nordiques or Habs?
I think by the time I was into it, I think the Nordiques were already gone.
Sure.
We grew up watching the Habs. Like we went to a lot of games growing up with my family. We drive, like I said, it was an hour and a half. So we were lucky enough to go to a lot of those games. Our family were never like crazy like team hockey fans, if that makes sense. Like we're not like diehard for any fan. It's more like we just love the game, like watching the game and seeing like elite players, like say Ovechkin was in town or like big names like that, and we go watch them. And I'd like to get there early, watch the warm-ups, see what they do in warm-ups and like the individual skill and see how they play. But it was more for us always about like the game as a whole over like seriously rooting for a team, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, makes sense. It's probably better for your blood pressure too.
Yeah.
I
Good for them. I never understood people who like watch game and like they get mad if their team loses and stuff. It's something that's big here. I don't think it's as big at home, but it's cool. It shows how how dedicated and passionate the people are for the team they root for. So I think it's pretty cool to see that.
That's cool. Back to you, Stomps.
Yeah, so then you guys have your roots now down, and I don't know if do you live on the Illinois side or the Iowa side of the border?
I'm on the Iowa side, so I also met a girl here, so I'm married here with a girl that's from here as well. So the three of us, I guess you could say deck hockey brought us here, but the Iowa girls brought us here more permanently, I would say. So yeah, the three of us found some pretty amazing ladies here, and that's what made us stay here too, I guess, at the same time. So yeah, me and my wife live in Davenport, Iowa here.
Nice. So yeah, well, they always say that a good woman is the backbone, right?
Oh yeah.
So your story of building this thing up, it's almost like, I don't know if you heard Field of Dreams, right? The whole Field of Dreams. They build the baseball stadium in the Iowa cornfields, build it and they will come. I mean, can you talk a little bit about, before we talk about the tournament, like the leagues you have going on there? Because my understanding is there's just tons of hockey being played, a lot of teams. Can you just talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the when we started in 2012, when Pat started, I don't think it was as easy as just build a rink and people show up, right? I think it was not a hockey town at all. Like people, probably 90% of people were saying he was crazy for trying to start deck hockey here when there's barely 2 sheets of ice all year long here, right? So we have the big ice rink in Moline, which there's not even ice in there in the summertime. And then we have the River's Edge, 1 sheet of ice, and that's it. So it's not a hockey town by any means, like comparable to you guys in Chicago or even like back home in Quebec where there's rinks everywhere, right? So yeah, people kind of thought he was crazy, but he had the vision to do it, and a lot of hard work. Like the first couple of years was nonstop, grinding and going to the ice rink, seeing every kid play, the youth programs, the adult leagues. Going to visit school, going to visit companies, businesses, car dealerships, like you name it. Pat was everywhere, just all over the city, and just getting the word spread out. And then it became word to mouth, and then we convinced people to come try it out. And once they try it out, they fall in love with the sport, because it's such an amazing game, right? As we all know, we're all in love with the sport. That's why we're here. So the tough part is convincing people to come try it out, right? Because I think a lot of ice guys, when they don't know anything about it, it's kind of the snobby attitude of like, well, I play ice hockey, right? I skate. I don't play ball hockey on shoes. Like, no, I'm an ice hockey player, right? And you got to come in and just try it out. It's fun. There's ex-professional players that play. There's college players that play. Even if you're an elite ice player, you'll have a blast playing deck hockey, right? And then we convince them, and once they would come and play, they'd be like, thanks for pushing me to play, because now I'm in love. It's my best thing ever. People stopped playing beer league because deck was more serious and more competitive and just ran more professionally, right? So that's kind of how it started. But yeah, a lot of hard work. Pat put in a lot of time and effort to bring all those people here. And when I was here, in the summertime, I would help him out and go visit schools with him and all that. So that's kind of how it expanded. And then you start at 15 teams, and then one team becomes 2 the year after, and then we implemented divisions and rankings, and then some players are on 3-4 teams because they want to play more than once a week, right? So they want to play every night of the week. So now they're playing on 4 teams. They're subbing on 2 other teams. So cool to see the growth. It grew fast, but it's cool to remember how it started and where it started to where it's at now. It's cool to go back and rethink of that.
Well, hey, Nick, I'm going to give it back to Stomps in a sec, but I just want to make one comment. For everyone watching, you're tuned into season 4, episode 2 of the Neutral Zone, where we have special guests running us through this episode with us for the upcoming NDA tournament, the 3 versus 3 in Iowa this weekend, the summer tournament. I think I speak for the entire community when I say one of the things about deck hockey that I can say confidently is there's a place for everyone in it. I mean, entry level, intermediate, beginner, high skill, expert. That's one of the things that makes this so incredible. And if we have time at the end, I do think, you know, by popular demand, one of the questions I will ask you, and save that one for the end, is just a little bit of your philosophy around player ranking. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that one at the end, unless Stomps covers that. I'm going to give it back to you, Stomps.
Yeah, so let's get into it. I mean, we got it coming up this weekend. I know when the slots go on sale, if you will, for getting your teams in, I kind of compare it to trying to buy tickets to like a big concert or something. It sells out usually in about 10 minutes. So how many teams are we looking at this year?
So this year is the highest number we've ever had, with 60 teams total throughout the five divisions plus junior. So 60 teams within 6 divisions this year.
Wow. Yeah, I'm in the D5, and I think we got 16 just in D5. So
16 in D5 is the biggest division this year. So that'll be a good one to watch for sure. But like Nav was saying, you know, that's the beauty of the game. It's that everybody, no matter if you've never touched a hockey stick growing up and you just started now at 30 or even 40 years old or 50 years old, you're like, hey, I love hockey, I want to play it. We have the levels for you, right? There's so many players that it's like their first experience is playing in the tournament. They're like, hey, we need a player that's ranked low, so we'll just bring this guy that never played, and he plays it, loves it, and keeps having fun because he's at that entry level where it's still competitive. You're still playing real. You still have your live stats. Like, it's still ran the same way as any other division. But like I said, it's the division for any skill level, whether you've played professional, college, junior hockey, or you've never touched a stick. There's a level for you where you can compete at your own level. And like, that's why we take so much time and pride into the rankings, because we want to make sure that it's accurate and that we keep it fun for every skill level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to the point about it's for everyone. You know, yesterday we were at the deck in Glencoe doing some scrimmaging, preparing. When we were done, the snipers organization came in and they brought at least 30 players of all ages right down the line. So that's a great organization. I think they're going to have 5 teams.
Yeah, no, the snipers, it's awesome. And I think, I could be wrong, I think it's Barrera kind of running that. I'm sure he's got help and other guys involved, and I think he's the main guy. It's just so cool to see how he grew. I remember him from he played for us on the U17 Team USA when we went to Montreal. He was one of our better players, one of our assistant captain leaders and stuff. And to see him from when he was like 15, 16 to now, what he's doing for the game it's unbelievable. You know, he, like you said, I think he has a team in every division other than D1. So that's 5 teams I think he has, I think he has 2 teams in one of the divisions, or he's running 2 teams. So he's going to be a busy guy for sure this week, trying to run through all the teams and stuff. But even like the time he putting all those teams together, and as you guys all know, it's not easy. You got to put a team and you got to figure out the rankings and the salary cap. So it's really like I call it like the GM mode when you play video games. You got to like, it's really, you're a GM and you're trying to put the best team you can while respecting the cap, right? Well, Gabe's doing that for like 6 teams, right? So he's busy, but it's cool because you can tell he's passionate. He loves the game, and it's awesome to see him grow like that and grow the game in Chicago. So good for him.
Hats off to Gabe. I mean, I can't say anything more about him. Just the way he's managing not only leadership. You know, as you know, he's out with an Achilles injury. He's recovering from his Achilles injury that he sustained in Pottstown when we were out there in March. But one of the things I'd just say out there about Gabe is he's the blueprint for what we're trying to build here in the hockey community in Chicago and internationally. His social media presence, the way he follows up with his players, his communication level, extraordinary. And I get the pleasure to actually play with one of those sniper teams this year. So I'm excited to be on that team.
Ooh, nice. Which one are you? You're on the D4 team, or?
That's right. That's right.
Nice.
So looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, definitely kudos to Gabe, his brother Jake, and their dad Julian.
Yeah.
You know, they're all in it together, and all the parents of that group, and and we've got a lot of people in our community trying what we can to grow the game for sure. I mean, even with this tournament, it's really spread word of mouth through. So I think, and I could be wrong. I heard there might be upwards of 12 Chicago area teams coming.
Oh, I think even more than that.
More
just,
than that?
just in
Wow.
the juniors, there's 4 just in juniors. So
Wow.
I think we're close to 20, if not over 20. So it's not, like you said, it's unreal to see the growth of Chicago and Iowa coming together and stuff, and it's just amazing for the game, you know.
I call it the Woodstock of hockey, right? You know, you're hanging out with your buddies, you got your tents set up, your grills are out there, your coolers. It's a great time, fun hockey.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I wanted to ask you, one of the rumors I had heard last year, I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I'd heard that you guys were possibly looking to build a third rink potentially on the site. Is that, or was that just talk?
It's it's been in the talks for quite some time now. It's still something we're looking into. If we do it, so obviously we'd have to, it's stuff with the park and stuff, a lot of things to look into, to like re-level the back, and it's where would you put it, right? So yeah, a lot of logistics and stuff, but yeah, it is something that could happen in the near future. Obviously, like you mentioned, we sold out in 12 minutes this year, right? So how cool would it be to have a third rink, and now we can take another 30 teams, and next thing you know, we have 100 teams coming down, right? So obviously that's something we're seriously looking into, and hopefully it's something that happens here soon.
Nav, back to you. I know
Yeah.
you wanted to ask about the whole rankings.
Yeah, so just a couple of logistical questions before I go to the rank. I'm going to shift gears because I like talking about food and coffee and all that. Any of your favorite coffee spots near the rink that you?
Well, yeah, actually, there's a coffee Hound, so it's literally, you could walk there, but in a car, a minute car ride, like half a mile, probably right beside the rink. They're actually going to be there. The schedule is all on our Facebook, but I think they're going to be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at some specific times. They're going to be serving iced coffee and then 2 energy drinks. So kind of 3 special drinks that we made just for this event. So we have the Deckhead Blue and the Deckhead Red, and then we have the Slap Shot iced coffee, which is like a maple nut crunch iced coffee. Maple, kind of go back to the Canadian roots and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to have fun with them. And yeah, like I said, we came up with 3 drinks, and they were super cool about it. We were like trying different flavors and coming up with something that everybody would like. So yeah, they'll be up there serving drinks all tournament, and the hours are not there. Like I said, it's 1 second down the road. You drive up there, get coffee and stuff. So
Amazing. I'm sure Joe Gleason Sr. is going to be very happy to hear that, because one of the things he does, he likes to find the best coffee shops, whatever tournament we're at. Hey, speaking of,
that's funny because we're the same way. Me, Matt, and Pat were like huge coffee lovers, right? So like when we went to Chicago, we were looking for that home, like not that chain coffee, but like you said, that exclusive. So like in Pittsburgh, when we went to the club championship, we found this. I can't even remember the name, but we found this unreal spot, and then we ended up going before every game. We stopped there, the whole team, and grabbed a little coffee before the game. So we're the same way. So we love testing the local coffee shop. So
good, Joe. We have a place to visit. So it's called Coffee Hound.
Yeah, Coffee Hound. They're one of the sponsors of the tournament and closest coffee shop to the rink. So
yeah, excellent. Will you have a Napper on-site representative?
Not an on-site representative, no, but I mean, we'll have all the gear. As you know, we have all the models of the shin pads, the new AK5, the 555 shin pads, the new like sleeve ones. We have all the models of gloves and all that. So Nappers is our number 1 brand. Personally, like, we've tried every single brand, and we think that they're the most innovative ones. Like every year they come up with new stuff, and now we're switching to the Napper balls as of this year. So they have I don't know if you remember that, like in the past, the Bauer Orange, we love them because of the gel, and it doesn't bounce as much and all that, but it kind of gets sticky when it's too hot out. So Napper came out with a red ball that was a little harder for the hot temperature. So I just think they're probably the leaders in the industry because of how much they innovate and they're constantly trying to improve their product, right, to keep up with the elite aspect of the game, right?
Excellent. Hey, good to know. One more logistical question for some of the newbies like me, as well as the millions and millions of viewers out there. I wanted to ask you with regards to the stick rules. Like, do you have any particular rules on the sticks that they use or the tape?
No tape under your blade. Obviously, that just damages the flooring. So some people like the tape. You can have it on your blade, so sideways, as long as it's not under. And stick for the tournaments, we allow pretty much anything, obviously, as long as it's not damaged or chipped, like if there's wood sticking out and it's dangerous. Obviously, the ref will not allow it. But other than that, as long as your blade's in good condition, you can use pretty much any stick you want for this tournament.
Okay,
so.
I'm hoping that a lot of us old guys will move away from the wood sticks, but you never know.
Yeah. Those are the ones that sometimes they're chipped and stuff. And I'm like, hey, that's a little. If I get hooked or slashed by that thing, I might have a little cut there. So that's how we. That's the only ones we try to move away. But other than that, we do. Shin pads are mandatory. So I know a lot of 5-on-5 guys, they don't play with shin pads, which I think that's crazy. But yeah, for the tournament, you need the full shin pads. Your knee needs to be protected all the time, and that's kind of the major thing. So hopefully every year we have a couple of Chicago guys that try to sneak in without shin pads, like protect those shins, protect those knees.
So shin pads, knee pads, helmet,
Yeah.
gloves.
Yeah, hockey gloves too. So
Excellent.
yeah, I mean, shin pads, there's a couple of reasons behind it too. I remember this one time we went to the World Championship 3-on-3 in Slovakia, and the Slovakian team, they play without shin pads, and 5-on-5, there's more running, there's more space, so I think you can get away with it. But playing 3-on-3, which how condensed it is, you're constantly in a 1-on-1 battles, right? It's stick and stick always, and we'd be battling 1-on-1, and like how many times will you take a little stick to the shin, right? It happens. It's part of the game. You're battling, and these guys would take a little stick to the shin, they drop down like they got shot, and then we'd be getting penalties left and right, and we're playing with shin pads, so you get the same hit, but you stay up because you don't feel it. So we were just penalized because of that. Or guys would slide, their knees would be dripping blood. Next thing you know, it's just like, just keep it safe, protected, and everybody's on the same playing field with the shin pad. Just more of a safe game that way.
Hey, Nick, how long are the games in the round robin?
Round robins is 2-12. So all the round robin games, every game until the finals is 2-12, and then championships is 3-10.
3-10s, and all games are stop time?
2-12, the clock stops for goals, penalties, and timeouts, but there's no timeouts in the round robin.
Got it. Hey, here's one question that is not necessarily a question from me and Stomps, but it's from the viewers and the participants in not only deck hockey in Chicago, in Glencoe, but also some folks that are going to Iowa. They wanted us to sort of pick your brain a little bit and ask you kind of what your philosophy is around rating players or ranking players, because I'm sure you've heard it all. As a guy that's in the league, running leagues, you probably heard guys that say they're ranked too high, and they want to be ranked lower so they can have more salary cap spot on their team. Then you hear about guys who are insulted because they're ranked too low, and they're like, hey, how can I be ranked the same way as that guy? I'm not going to tell you what camp Stomps and I sit in, but we do have to please the public and ask you this question around kind of how do you rate players, especially the ones you don't know that are coming to the tournament? Yeah. And then kind of what's your general philosophy on rating players? What are some of the things you look at to give a player a D2+, D3, D4, D4+, that kind of thing?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, rankings is such a huge thing in what we do, and I think that's one of the main things that kind of sets us apart from the 5-on-5 tournaments. I mean, first of all, the reason behind rankings, as you guys probably understand, is to have better games, right? We're not doing ranking just to piss people off or to make it harder on people to make teams, right? Because the example I said is it would be way easier for us if we just take 60 teams, rec A and B, right? Like 90% of tournaments, A, B, whatever. Sign up your team, give me your rosters, I put them online, no rankings, takes us 2 seconds, right? No, instead of doing that, we're like, we want to be different. We want it to be professional. We want like we talked about, if no matter what your background, we want you to have a level where you can go in. And if you're playing D5, there's not an elite player that played college ice hockey playing against you, right? We do our homework. We dive in every single player. If it's a player that we don't know, we'll Google him, elite prospect him, you name it, right? We had like a day camp, right? And a lady that plays deck and stuff, she was helping us out during the day camp, and I was in the back like YouTubing players, and she was like watching me. She's like, wow, like people ask me all the time how you guys rank those players, and I had no idea how much time you guys put into it, right? So, or like guys that play in the NBHL, we will go and watch those games, and we'll take notes about, okay, this is the player coming, number 18 on white, and then we'll take notes, watch how he plays defensively, offensively. Obviously, we'll check the stats, because obviously, if you score 20 goals in 10 games, you're doing something right? So yeah, it's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot of time, but we just think that the time is worth it when we see the end product of watching games, and it's a 3-2 shootout, and it's a 4-3 overtime, and every game is so close and so competitive. And within every division, that's the rewarding part. When we put all this work in, we rank the players, and then we see those games, how close they are, how everybody's having a blast. Like, you lose 3-2 in a shootout, you're upset, but you're like, man, we were in the game, right? If you lose 8-0 in a round robin game because you're playing against guys that are 10 times better than you, that's when, to me, it becomes not fun, right? So,
have you ever got it wrong? Have you ever got it wrong?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every year I think it gets better and better. And you go, like I said, you go back to the first tournament, we didn't even have stats, right? So it's like the next year they come back, and I'm like trying to remember who's who, and like, oh yeah, that's the player that had this stick, and we're trying to rethink of it. But now, like, hey, why don't we do stats for tournaments too? Like, no other tournament has those live stats like we have. Again, it goes back to like, let's do something bigger, better, more organized, that will stand out and really bring the sport of deck hockey to like a professional level, right? Why do ice hockey players have their stats and their live standings and all that? Why can we have that in deck hockey, right? It's as good of a sport. If it's exciting, like, why not make it professional? That was kind of the vision behind it. We didn't want just to do a tournament where put your team together, come play a tournament, boom, it's over. No, like, you have stats, you have scoring leaders, you have the standings, the website, the schedule. Like, we want it to be as professional as can be. The stars of the games, the goalie has their shots on goal, their save percentage, right? All that stuff is in there. You can click your name, you can see your stats from the past 8 years, your total goals, total assists, all that stuff. So that was really the number one thing, was like, we want to bring deck hockey to that professional level, right? And from then, like I said, from the stats, the first years, yeah, we get it wrong, and every year we meet after, and like, how do we do better, right? This guy was way too good for D5. How do we avoid that, right? So that's when we start to do more and more investigating in a way, right? And obviously, sometimes you'll be ranked, you're a D4, we might rank you D4 plus, but you know what I mean? It's to an extent, right? There's always going to be that fine line, but we do the best we can. And for the most part, when you look at the end result and the scores of the games, I think it's pretty close to what perfection could be. I don't think anything can be perfect. Obviously, we're going to see guys that are underranked, we're going to see guys that are overranked, but I like to compare it to like I said, building an NHL team, right? You might pay, or you might watch your whatever team you like, Chicago Blackhawks, whatever it is, right? You might say, why are we paying this guy $9 million? He has 15 points all year. We're overpaying him, right? Or then you have this other guy who you're paying 1.5 million, and he has double the stats, and he's producing more than the guy who you're paying 9 million, right? So that's kind of the same thing, right? You might have a guy that's 4+ who's going to be your leading scorer, and your D3+ player is going to have 2 points all tournament. So it's kind of like goes back to that. It's like, well, when you build your team, you got to be smart about how you build it, and that's what I say. if in your mind a player is like, say you send us a roster, I'm like, yeah, this guy is a D3 plus. And then a lot of times people argue, well, hey, can you rank this guy down to D3? Well, here's what I tell people. I said, this is what they're worth. Now, as you, as a GM, decide if you think he's worth that or not. You know what I mean? Because we're not forcing you to take that player. If you really think he's overranked, then take someone else that's underranked, right? So that's kind of like how it goes. But it goes back to an NHL roster. You got to be smart about how you spend your points. So, and at the end of the day, the teams that win, they take a lot of time on building their teams and being smart about it and getting the most value out of the rank worth of their points, right? So
what I like about it is, like you said, Nick, I like the rigor, the thoughtfulness, and the fact that you're resourceful. Like you talk to other people. I think it's important, and I'll tell you why. Because you're not going to get, like, you might rank someone D4 and they might be a D4 plus. But hey, listen, that's pretty close, anyways. It's not like by the ranking system. What I love about it is you're not going to get a D2 guy that should be like, you know, our D4 guy that should be D2 like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Happen. I think it's a really incredible process. So for those of you who have questions, I think Nick did a great job with explaining it. I also want to, you know, give a lot of kudos to John Scully in the way he does the rankings too. And Glencoe, he does a nice job. He's always responsive he shares his logic behind it. And, you know, one of the things what he does, and I think you touched on this as well, he looks at different elements of the game, right? Like he looks at, like, you know, the amount of goal scoring, your speed, you know, your two-way game. He looks at so many different elements, which I think is important because, hey, you might get a guy that scores like, you know, 20 goals in a 10-goal season, but there might be another guy who scores like 13, 14 goals, but he's a two-way player. He's got a better winning percentage, things like that. You know what I mean?
And that's why, you know, a lot of times we'll have guys that they'll email us and be like, well, why'd you rank him D4 plus? And then I see on this other team, there's a guy ranked D4 and he has a 1.5 points a game and he has like they try to compare just strictly based on stats, right? And we're like, guys, it's not just that, right? There's so much more in the game than just how many goals you can score. Like I said before, obviously, if you scored 20 goals in 10 games, you're doing something right. But there's also more than that, right? You could be less of a goal scorer, but you're a defensive player. You play D, you're a shutdown guy. When you're on the deck, nobody can score against you because you're so good defensively. You block shots, or you don't score much, but you're so fast out there, right? So speed too, right? If you're a 17-year-old kid and you're just the fastest runner out there, well, maybe you should not be playing in D5, right? Because you get so much speed. So there's much more than stats. Stats, yes, we've taken into consideration, but there's way more than that. And again, to your thing of like, yeah, some players are overranked. The other way, like, you could have a player that should maybe be D4, but he's D4 plus, but then you could have a player that's D5 plus who should be D4, right? So it goes both ways. You might have a guy that he's one rank higher than what I would have liked, but then this other guy, we got him for 5 plus, and he's probably more than 4. So at the end of the day, when you balance it out, I think it kind of evens it out all across the board. And it's funny because every single team captain, they think that, oh, they overranked our guys, but we're getting the same response from the 59 other captains, right? Every team captain tries, hey, can you rank just this guy? Like, we're 2 points over. Can you just rank one guy down? And like, hey, like, these are the ranks. Yeah. Sorry. And you think it's just, oh man, like, come on. And it's like, it's the same across the league, right? It's nothing personal. It's what we think. That's what we think they're ranked at. And you just got to build a team according to that. And it's funny because it just shows how people want to win. They want to build the best team they can, and they try to get away with, can you do this one favor for me? Rank this one guy down. Like, hey, like, I'd love to help you out, but if we do it for you, then we got to do it for everybody else, right?
Stay firm because it's going to make for a better tournament. Listen,
exactly. Yeah.
Everyone, you're tuned into season 4, episode 2 of the Neutral Zone. We're going to be wrapping up momentarily as Stomps and I have to head over to the rink. However, just 2 things I wanted to sort of close off with, Stomps, unless you had additional questions. I wanted to ask you, what's going on in this photo, Nick? Tell us a little bit about it, if you remember this moment.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was in Danbury the year before COVID, or the season that got stopped before COVID. Just one of the fights I was coming down behind the net, playing Watertown. That's actually a team I played. I won the cup with. I played there with John Scully. That's me and Scully won a cup there in Watertown together. So we were playing against Watertown and just got into it with this guy, and we kind of went at it for a while, and getting towards the end of the fight, and you know how exhausting it gets, and I could see he's getting tired, and the crowd's kind of like, it's a moment of the game where, like, I think we need to gain some momentum. So I don't know where it came from, but I was just holding on to him with one hand, and my other hand, I just started to pump up point towards the crowd and just pump it up, and then
I see that.
the whole crowd steps up, and then I kind of pumped up, and then he's kind of looking at me like confused as to what I'm doing, and then you know, I throw one on, and I just grab him, I shove him on the boards, and that just made a good story. But the video is on YouTube, and you can kind of see it. It was just, I don't know where.
I pulled that image from the YouTube clip. We didn't have time to show it today. Listen, before we close out here, I just wanted to say, I know we exchanged some texts, but Stomps and I are interested, if possible, to be your TNZ exclusive coverage outlet for the tournament. We're hoping we can conduct some interviews with the players while we're there, and if you can help facilitate that, we would be happy to support you.
For sure. We didn't even, obviously we weren't on a time limit, but there's so much more to talk about and stuff. But yeah, there's going to be for the guys involved in like 5-on-5 and Team USA and all that, there's going to be like so much talent coming this year. And like we talk about all the leagues, like from U18, Team USA, like the top guns who won last year in D3, they move up to D2. So a lot of those kids played in overseas for the U16 or U18 Team USA, and then up in D1, there's going to be a bunch of players from the very last men's national team that went up in Montreal. Corey Wilson, and he's bringing a team, and all his players are guys that played on Team USA. So a lot of big names in the game. So I think it would be cool to interview those guys and get to know more about them and stuff. So.
Well, listen, you're tuned into season 4, episode 2 of the Neutral Zone. We'll be glad to conduct those interviews throughout the tournament, post them. What we're going to do here is just make a request to all the viewers out there. If you could just like and subscribe to our channel. Today we had Nick Levesque from Iowa join us today, talking about the upcoming summer tournament, the 3-on-3 tournament. Before we close, any last minute questions, Stomps, for Nick? And Nick, anything else you want to say to the viewers out there about this weekend?
I know. I'm just first of all, I'm excited to see everybody. Like I said, with the number one thing about deck that we love is the community, right? It feels like a family. You'll go out there on the deck, you want to beat the other guy up, and you hate him, and you'll say words that you regret and you take back after, right? But when it's all said and done off the rink, it's just everybody I see there. I'm so excited to see them. Like I said, it's a family environment. Stomps brought it up. You know, you're out there, you're cooking, you're there all day. You don't just go to your game and leave, right? It's an event, it's a happening. You stay there all day, you cheer on your friends. You watch, like, whether it's D3, D4, D2, D5 juniors, like the place is packed. Everybody roots for each other, or they root for their friends, their enemies, whatever it is, right? It just creates a good environment, and that's the number one thing of the event. So I'm just personally excited to see my friends are coming in. They're all flying in from my team, but to see my buddies from Chicago, from all over the place, guys that, like, it's the one time a year where everybody's there at the same time together, and that's for me is the number one thing, right? To love what you guys do. I think it's great for the game and stuff, and excited to see everybody in 2 days now. Countdown is on.
No, and listen, Nick, thank you very much for joining us today. You're always welcome back on the show. We hope to have you again. We wish you and all the organizing committee the best for this weekend, all the players to be safe, yet have a lot of fun, remain competitive, and come out and say hello to us. Stomps and I will be hanging around throughout the weekend. We'd love to meet as many people as possible and continue to support and grow the game the way you have, Nick, you and your brothers as well. So thanks, Stomps. Nick, anything else, Stomps, before we close?
No, appreciate Nick's time. We look forward to this weekend. Good luck to all the teams, especially the Chicago area teams. Let's see what we can do. and let's hope for the weather. You know, the weather's a factor. It's looking pretty good. So.
Yeah, it's looking nice so far. It's looking not too hot, not cold, just sunny,
No.
but not so far. It's looking like we're gonna be lucky. So fingers crossed that we get that perfect weather.
Awesome. Nick, thanks again. Again, we'll talk to you soon, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Take care, and Stomps, I'll see you in the rink momentarily.
Yes, sir.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Thanks for having me. See you guys soon.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.